He didn't look back. Until Jungkook said the words that Jimin had been waiting for. Broken heart dove # wilted flower. The slap echoed like a gunshot across the empty train platform. Jimin's hand trembled mid-air, eyes wide and glassy under the flickering fluorescent light. Jungkook stood frozen, the red imprint already blooming on his cheek, but he didn't flinch. He only stared at Jimin with something close to devastation. Or maybe relief. The wind swept through between them, cold and indifferent, as if mocking the heat still lingering between their fractured breaths. "I told you not to follow me," Jimin whispered, the words barely holding together. "You lost the right." Jungkook's jaw clenched. He shifted the duffel bag on his shoulder but didn't move. Trains howled in the distance, too far to offer escape, too close to pretend none of this was real. "You think I didn't try?" Jungkook's voice was raw. "You think I didn't die every damn night missing you?" But Jimin shook his head. His face, always so carefully guarded, crumbled at the edges. "You're 3 years too late." The silence that followed was cruel. It wasn't empty, it was filled with all the apologies that never came, with every moment that might have saved them but didn't. Jungkook had left. Disappeared. No warning. No explanation. Just a single voicemail, 11 seconds long. "Don't wait for me." And Jimin hadn't. Not after a month of sleepless nights. Not after a year of holding on to shadows. Not after building a version of himself that didn't shatter at the sound of Jungkook's name. But now he was here. Now, after Jimin had found the strength to stop believing in ghosts, Jungkook stepped closer, cautious, like Jimin might vanish if he moved too fast. His eyes, dark, haunted, begging, searched Jimin's face for an opening. "I came back because I remembered the promise." Jimin blinked. Once. What promise? That no matter what happened, I'd find my way back to you. Even if you hated me. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile you wear when you've already lost everything. Jimin didn't respond. Couldn't. Not when the old ache twisted in his chest like barbed wire. He hated how his body remembered Jungkook, how even now, his fingers itched to reach out, to trace the scar under Jungkook's lip, to ask where he'd been, why he'd vanished, why he looked like he hadn't slept since the day he walked away. A train's horn pierced the moment. Jungkook turned, as if the sound physically tugged at his spine. He looked over his shoulder, hesitating. Then he did the one thing Jimin feared the most. He walked away. No more words. No explanations. Just the dull thud of boots on concrete, fading, and Jimin didn't call after him. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Not until "I loved you every day I was gone." Jungkook's voice sliced through the cold like a blade, distant but sharp, laced with all the pain, all the longing, all the things Jimin had imagined hearing in his dreams but never dared to believe. He turned. Jungkook had stopped at the end of the platform, half-shadowed, barely lit. For a second, Jimin saw him as he used to be, reckless smile, wild hope in his eyes, fingers that could create music or madness with equal grace. But this Jungkook was different. Older. Tired. Broken in the way only love could break a person, and yet, he was still Jungkook, still the boy who once whispered forever between breaths, still the man who left without looking back, until now. Jimin stepped forward. Once, and then the weight of everything crashed over him. 3 years of silence, of sleepless nights, of trying to forget the very person his soul was wired to remember. He didn't know if he could forgive. He didn't know if he wanted to. But he knew this, he wasn't ready to let go. Not yet, not now. Not after those words. Jimin didn't sleep that night. The walls of his apartment felt narrower than usual, as if the air itself remembered Jungkook's voice and refused to let it go. He stood by the window until dawn, coffee cold in his hand, eyes scanning the empty streets below like Jungkook might reappear beneath the sodium orange glow of the street lamp. But he didn't. His phone stayed silent. By the time morning came, Jimin had convinced himself it was over. That those words, "I loved you every day I was gone," were just one final wound from a man who knew exactly how to hurt him best. He was wrong. By noon, Jungkook showed up at his dance studio. Jimin was mid-routine, sweat clinging to his shirt, music blasting through the mirrors when the door creaked open. He turned, breathless and stunned, the moment his eyes caught the familiar silhouette leaning casually against the frame, hood pulled low, but not enough to hide him. "What the hell are you doing here?" Jimin snapped, grabbing a towel from the bench. His voice was sharp, but his heart had already betrayed him, hammering against his ribs like a trapped thing. "I need to talk to you," Jungkook said simply. "I said everything I needed to say last night." No, Jungkook stepped inside, his tone calm, dangerous. You slapped me. That's not a conversation. Jimin scoffed. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you disappeared for 3 years without so much as a fucking letter. I couldn't, Jungkook's voice cracked. If I told you where I was going, you would have followed. You would have tried to stop me. Damn right I would have. Jimin threw the towel down, walking up to him. You think you get to walk back into my life and drop poetic bullshit like I loved you every day I was gone and what? I'm supposed to melt. No, Jungkook whispered. But you're supposed to know I meant it. You don't get to mean it now. There was a pause. The air between them vibrated with tension. Jungkook stepped forward. You want the truth? No, Jimin hissed. I want peace. I was undercover. The words hit like a fist. Jimin blinked. What? I was recruited. Government black ops. Off-grid. Disappear or they'll kill you kind of mission. Jimin laughed, ugly, bitter. What is this, a spy movie? I don't care if you believe me, Jungkook said, voice low and measured. I just need you to know why I left. You left because you chose them over me. Jungkook didn't deny it. I had to, he said. They came to me. Said it was the only way to clear my father's name. You remember the scandal. The trial. He was framed. I had proof, but the only way to get close to the source was to join them. Disappear. Become one of them. Jimin staggered back, suddenly nauseous. You lied to me. Every moment we shared, every promise, you were already planning to leave. No, Jungkook said, stepping closer, his voice trembling. I only joined after. I was going to tell you, I swear, but the call came early. And once I was in, I couldn't risk contacting you. If they found out, bullshit. Jimin yelled. You let me drown in your silence. I thought you were dead, Jungkook. I planned your funeral in my mind 100 times. I hated you for leaving me like that. Jungkook's eyes were wet now, and he didn't wipe the tears that spilled. I hated me too. They stood there, panting, a battlefield of memories between them. Jimin didn't know what was worse, the rage or the relief. Rage that he'd been abandoned without explanation. Relief that Jungkook hadn't left because he stopped loving him. Why now? Jimin whispered. Why come back now? Jungkook looked at him, gaze heavy with something close to fear. Because they're watching you. What? They think you know something, he said. About me. About the leak. They're cleaning house, Jimin. Anyone close to me is a target. You're not safe. Jimin staggered back, heart in his throat. This is insane. I know, Jungkook said. But I need you to trust me. One last time. I trusted you once, Jimin said quietly. It nearly destroyed me. I won't let them touch you. I swear it. But I need you to come with me. To where? Somewhere safe. Jimin looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in 3 years, he saw the truth in Jungkook's eyes. The fear, the exhaustion, the guilt that had carved itself into his bones. This wasn't a man trying to win back a lover, this was a man running out of time. I can't just leave everything, Jimin whispered, you don't have a choice. The door of the studio slammed open, men in black entered. Guns drawn down. Jungkook shouted, grabbing Jimin and throwing them both to the ground as the mirrors exploded above their heads. Jimin screamed, ears ringing, body pressed against Jungkook's as bullets tore through the air. Move. Jungkook growled, dragging him to the back exit. They ran out into the blinding sunlight, into a world Jimin no longer recognized, chased by shadows he never knew existed, and through it all, one question beat in his mind like a drum. Had Jungkook come back to save him, or to destroy him all over again? The abandoned motel on the outskirts of the city reeked of mildew and secrets. Jimin sat on the edge of the bed, trembling hands clutching a cracked ceramic mug filled with instant coffee he hadn't touched. The sirens had faded hours ago. The adrenaline hadn't. His ears still rang from the gunshots, and his knees bore the bruises from where Jungkook had dragged him across broken concrete. He hadn't said a word since they got there. Jungkook had, though, barking instructions, checking the windows, setting up something on a battered laptop that looked like it had survived a war. Maybe it had. Maybe they both had. Jimin stared at him now. Shirt stained with blood, not his, he said. Hair damp with sweat. eyes darker than he remembered. There were scars on his arms that hadn't been there 3 years ago. You're insane, Jimin finally said. Jungkook didn't look up. Probably. You dragged me into a gunfight. You blew up my studio. Do you even understand what you've done? Jungkook's fingers stilled on the keyboard. I didn't blow up your studio. They did. And they were going to kill you. And whose fault is that? Jimin snapped, standing up. Maybe if you hadn't decided to become James fucking Bond, I did it for you. Jungkook roared, slamming his fist into the table. The mug shattered in Jimin's hands, coffee spilling down his arm, burning. Jungkook's face twisted in horror. Shit, Jimin, I don't. Jimin yanked his arm away as Jungkook reached for him. Don't touch me. For a moment, neither of them moved. The silence buzzed like static. I didn't ask you to save me, Jimin whispered, voice raw. I asked you to stay. But you made your choice. I was 19, Jungkook said quietly. They told me my father would die in prison unless I took the deal. They said I could protect you if I played along. That I could come back once it was over. And it's over now. No, Jungkook admitted. It's worse. Jimin's knees buckled, and he sat back down, staring at the floor. Then why come back? Because they killed Taehyung. The name hit him like a hammer. Jimin's head snapped up. What? They found him in Busan. Tortured. Executed. Jimin's stomach turned. But Taehyung, he didn't even know anything. He helped me. Once. That was enough. Oh my god. Jimin's voice broke. Does Namjoon know? Jungkook nodded slowly. He's the one who called me. Jimin's breath caught in his throat. Namjoon had been Taehyung's fiancé. They were supposed to get married next year. A beach wedding. Something small. Intimate. Now there'd be a funeral instead. Tears burned at the corners of Jimin's eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because they'll come for you next. Jimin laughed bitterly. And you think I should trust you to protect me? After everything? Jungkook didn't speak. Didn't plead. Just walked over and knelt in front of him. His voice was low, almost broken. I wake up every night hearing your voice in my head. I see you in places you've never been. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I don't even deserve a second chance. But I couldn't let you die, Jimin. Jimin's lip quivered. I should hate you. You do. I want to hate you. But you don't. Jimin shoved him away, and Jungkook fell backward, catching himself on his elbows. He didn't get up. Didn't argue. Just stared at him like a man watching the sun set for the last time. You think this is some kind of redemption arc? Jimin spat. You think saving me now erases what you did? No, Jungkook said. I think saving you is the only thing keeping me from losing what's left of myself. Jimin turned away. He couldn't breathe with Jungkook looking at him like that, like he was still everything. Like the 3 years of silence and heartbreak and funeral daydreams hadn't burned a canyon between them. The silence stretched. Then Jungkook's phone buzzed. He picked it up, read the message, and immediately paled. What? Jimin asked. They found us. Before Jimin could speak, the window shattered. A bullet whistled past his ear, embedding in the wall behind him. Move. Jungkook yelled, grabbing a duffel bag and yanking Jimin toward the back. Another shot. Closer this time. They sprinted down the hallway, smoke already curling beneath the door. Jimin could hear voices, shouted orders, boots pounding on tile. Jungkook kicked open a maintenance hatch. They dropped into darkness. They landed hard, breathless, in a tunnel that stank of rot and sewage. Jimin gasped, coughing. What the hell is this? Old maintenance line, Jungkook said. They won't follow us down here. I swear to God, if I make it out of this alive, you'll thank me. I'll kill you. Jungkook smiled. Fair. They walked in silence for several minutes, the only sounds their footsteps and the occasional drip of water. Where are we going? Jimin asked. To someone who can help. Jimin narrowed his eyes. Another secret contact. She used to be one of them. Until they tried to kill her too. Jimin rolled his eyes. Great. You keep excellent company. She's the only one who knows how deep this goes. Jimin stopped walking. And how deep does it go, Jungkook? Jungkook turned slowly. You're not ready to hear that yet. Try me. Jungkook hesitated. Then he stepped close. The people chasing us, they're not just black ops. They're private. Off the books. Ghost division. Funded by corporations and foreign governments. They answer to no one. And you worked for them. Not by choice. Still, they're building something, Jimin, Jungkook whispered. Something terrifying. Something that, if we don't stop it, will change the world in the worst way. Jimin stared at him, heart pounding. Why me? Because you're the key. The words chilled him. What do you mean I'm the key? Jungkook's face was unreadable. You're not just collateral. You're connected to this in ways you don't remember yet. What the hell are you talking about? You'll see. Tell me. I can't. Not here. Not now. Jimin stepped back, furious. No more lies, Jungkook. No more riddles. Then stay alive long enough for the truth, Jungkook said, voice hardening. Because if they catch us, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. They kept walking, but the distance between them had never felt wider. The underground tunnel opened into a forgotten subway station, buried under decades of dust, graffiti, and memories that didn't belong to either of them. Jimin's lungs ached. His legs shook from exhaustion. But his fury burned hotter than fatigue. You don't get to do this, he snarled, turning on Jungkook as the flickering emergency lights bathed them in pulses of red and shadow. You don't get to drag me into your war and drop cryptic bullshit like you're the key without an explanation. Jungkook didn't flinch. His face was still, controlled, but his eyes, they betrayed him. There was fear there. Not for himself. For Jimin. I didn't want to tell you like this, he said softly. Then when? Jimin stepped closer. When I'm bleeding out in some back alley? When they've already shot me in the head and dumped my body in the river? You think I wanted this for you? Jungkook growled suddenly. You think I wanted you in the line of fire? You put me there. No, they did, because of you. Jungkook slammed his fist into a rusted locker, the metallic echo roaring through the station like a gunshot. You don't know what I gave up. Neither do you, Jimin hissed, stepping forward until they were inches apart. You don't know what it was like watching the world move on without you. You don't know what it's like to question every second of a love that disappeared without warning. You left me. You lied. And now you're here pretending this is about me. Jungkook looked like he wanted to argue, to scream, to break. But instead, he did something Jimin wasn't ready for. He dropped his guard. I didn't just leave, he said, voice shaking. They erased me. Jimin stared. Jungkook continued. They didn't just make me disappear, Jimin. They scrubbed me. From systems. Records. Birth certificates. I stopped existing. I couldn't call. Couldn't write. Anyone who looked for me was watched. Threatened. Or worse. Then why come back now? Jimin's voice was smaller, haunted. Because you're not safe. Because the project changed. Because they found something connected to you. What? Jungkook hesitated. Tell me. There was a facility. In Jeju. Off-grid. Unmarked. They called it Project Saraphim. When I finally broke in, I found records. Photos. DNA scans. Jimin blinked. What does that have to do with me? There was a subject, Jungkook said. Codenamed JM042. Birth date. Blood type. Genetic markers. All matching yours. Jimin felt the room tilt. No, he whispered, they experimented with something. Memory manipulation. Cognitive mapping. Trying to create weaponized empathy. The ability to detect lies, trauma, emotional imprints through touch. But it only worked on you. You're lying, Jimin choked. Jungkook shook his head. They thought the project failed. But you disappeared from the system before they could finish. The trail went cold. Until I saw your face in the archive. I don't remember any of this. Exactly. Jimin backed away, heart hammering. You think I'm some kind of freak experiment? I think you were taken, Jimin. I think someone erased what happened to you. And I think that's why they're hunting you now, because you're the last living trace of Seraphim. Jimin's knees buckled. He dropped onto a bench, hands shaking uncontrollably. All these years, and I thought I was just broken because of you. I wish you were, Jungkook whispered. They sat in silence, broken only by the hum of electricity and distant rats scurrying in the dark. Jimin's voice was hollow. So what now? I run. Hide. Wait for them to put a bullet in my skull? No. Jungkook crouched in front of him. We fight back. But not alone. Don't say it like we're a team again. We're not. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Jungkook said. I'm asking for time. Time to get you answers. Time to find out what they did to you. And what if I don't want to know? You need to know. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the tunnel. Light footsteps. Then a shadow moved behind one of the columns. Jungkook was on his feet instantly, gun drawn. A woman stepped into the light. Tall. Blonde. Scar across her temple. Eyes like ice. You're late, she said. Jungkook lowered the gun. And you look worse than the last time I saw you, Mina. She smirked. Flattery won't save your ass this time. Her eyes flicked to Jimin. So, she said. You're the ghost. Jimin frowned. Excuse me? Mina tossed a file at his feet. I used to run data sweeps for Saraphim. Your profile was wiped. Not deleted. Scrubbed. That means someone high up wanted you forgotten. Jimin didn't pick it up. He couldn't. You're lucky, she added. Most of their test subjects didn't survive. Jimin's stomach turned. But you did. And now they're panicking. Jungkook glanced at her. We need a secure uplink. We need the files you stole. And what do I get in return? Mina asked. Protection. She laughed coldly. You can't protect yourself. Maybe not, Jungkook said. But he can. Jimin stood, fists clenched. Don't talk about me like I'm some weapon. You are, Mina said. But not the kind they wanted. The kind that might actually turn the tide if you survive. What's coming next? And what's coming next? Jimin asked. Her smile vanished. Your memory. Jimin's chest tightened. You think the truth will save you, she said. It won't. But it'll change everything. She turned to leave. Get some sleep, she said over her shoulder. You'll need it. Jungkook and Jimin were alone again, and for the first time, Jimin saw it clearly: the war, the lies, the betrayal. But also, the love that still lived beneath all of it. Cracked. Flawed. Still burning. Why me? Jimin asked softly. Why come back for me? After everything. Jungkook looked him dead in the eye. Because even if the world forgets you, I never could. Jimin didn't respond, but he didn't look away either. The motel room smelled like wet concrete and adrenaline. Jimin hadn't moved in hours, sitting cross-legged on the floor while files, images, and fragments of a life he didn't remember stared back at him from the scattered documents Mina had given him. Photographs of him strapped to a table. Clinical reports filled with cold, heartless words. Subject JM042 displays elevated neurological activity in regions associated with empathy, intuition, and trauma recall. Memory alterations successful. Subject unstable. Risk high. He felt sick. Not just in his stomach, but in his bones, like the very structure of who he thought he was had been carved out and replaced with someone else's truth. Jungkook sat on the other side of the room, silent. He hadn't spoken in over 20 minutes. He seemed to know instinctively that any word from him now might shatter what little thread of reality Jimin had left. I used to think the worst part of losing you, Jimin finally said, voice cracking, was not knowing why. But it wasn't. Jungkook didn't respond. The worst part was realizing I never really knew myself either. Jungkook looked at him now, quiet eyes meeting Jimin's. You were never just a victim, he said carefully. You survived something none of us could have. They tried to erase you. But you're still here. That means something. Don't romanticize my trauma, Jimin snapped. Don't act like this was some noble fight I chose. They used me, Jungkook. Turned me into some kind of experiment. And you, he stood suddenly, pacing. You knew this. For how long? I suspected. Not this much, Jungkook answered. I didn't know about Saraphim until a year ago. I didn't know you were connected until I saw that photo. You should have told me the second you found out. I was trying to protect you. No, you were trying to protect yourself. Jimin's voice rose. You thought I'd break. That I couldn't handle it. And maybe you're right. Maybe I'm broken. But that was my choice to make. Jungkook stood too, crossing the room in 2 quick steps. I came back, Jimin. I risked everything to bring this truth to you. You think that was easy? I don't give a damn if it was easy, Jimin shouted. You made that decision without me, just like every other decision you made when you walked out of my life. Their faces were inches apart now, fury and grief colliding like sparks. I loved you, Jungkook said, low and guttural. I loved you so much I was willing to be hated if it meant you stayed alive. You don't get to use love as an excuse, Jimin growled. You loved me. Then why didn't you come home when I begged you to? Why didn't you fight for us instead of playing hero for people who used you the same way they used me? Jungkook flinched. For the first time, he looked like he had no answer. Jimin stepped back. You didn't come back for me. You came back because you were drowning in guilt. Maybe, Jungkook admitted. But guilt didn't put me in front of that sniper's bullet yesterday. Guilt didn't bring me to your door in the middle of the night. That was love. Still is. Jimin stared at him for a long, aching moment, then turned away. A knock rattled the door, both of them froze. Jungkook drew his weapon silently and moved to the side of the door. He gave Jimin a look, don't move, before flicking the lock. It creaked open. Mina stepped inside, her expression tighter than before. She dropped a flash drive onto the table. They killed Seokjin, she said flatly. Jimin's heart stopped. What? Jungkook's voice was a whisper. Found him in his apartment. Staged as a suicide. You and I both know better. Jimin staggered back. No. He wasn't involved. He was. Mina's tone didn't soften. He cracked the firewall that led me to Seraphim's encrypted server. That drive has what's left of the data he pulled. Jungkook clenched his fists. Who else knows? Just us. For now. But that won't last. Jimin felt like the world had tilted again. Seokjin. The quiet one. The voice of reason. The one who always said, some secrets are worth dying for, but not mine. Jimin dropped into the nearest chair, tears burning behind his eyes. How many people have to die because of me? No one's dying because of you, Mina said sharply. They're dying because of what they did to you. And because you're the last threat to the lie they've built their empire on. Jungkook looked at the flash drive. What's on it? Schematics. Names. Locations. Enough to tear the whole operation down if we can decrypt it. We need to move, Jungkook said. Once they realize what Seokjin was doing, they'll come here. Mina nodded. I've secured transport. An old safe house, far north. No comms. No signals. You'll have to travel analog. Jimin stood, shaky but steady. We're all running. Mina looked at him. We're not running. We're regrouping. Jungkook pulled a small silver locket from his pocket and handed it to Jimin. What is this? Jimin asked. Something I took from the lab when I escaped. It was in your file. Your fingerprints were on it. Jimin opened it. Inside was a photo. 2 children, one with wide eyes and a familiar smile. The other. Jungkook. Jimin's breath caught. This is us. You don't remember, Jungkook said. But we met before. Long before we ever fell in love. Before the tests. Before everything. Jimin looked at him, stunned. You knew this whole time? I wasn't sure. Until I saw the photo. Until I remembered. Jimin clutched the locket like it was the last real thing in the world. Why did they erase it? He asked softly. Why take that from me? Because it made you human, Mina said. And they couldn't control a heart that remembers love. Jimin's knees gave out again, and Jungkook caught him before he hit the ground. He didn't push him away this time. I want my memories back, Jimin whispered. Then we find the last doctor, Jungkook said. He's still out there. And he holds the key. Mina handed them a slip of paper. A name. A place. Go, she said. I'll cover your exit. We'll meet again if we're lucky. They left the motel before dawn. Jimin didn't look back, but as the sky bled into sunrise, he clutched the photo in his hands, the faces of 2 boys who had once been whole, and wondered how many more pieces of himself were still missing. And if he'd still recognized the man he used to be when he finally put them all back together. Snow blanketed the northern highway in thick silence, The kind that muffled sound and blurred edges until the world felt half erased. Jimin sat in the backseat of an unmarked black SUV, his breath fogging the window as frost formed strange constellations on the glass. Jungkook drove in silence, eyes steady on the winding road, one hand gripping the wheel, the other resting near the concealed firearm on his thigh. Between them in the passenger seat, the file Mina had given them lay unopened. Neither had touched it since they left. The mountains loomed ahead, vast and cold and ancient, like they were watching, like they remembered. Jimin finally broke the silence. How long have you known? Jungkook didn't glance back. About what? About that photo. About us. As kids. There was a pause. Too long. Jimin's heart twisted. And you didn't think to tell me? I didn't want to mess with your head. You were already struggling. I thought if you remembered on your own, it would mean more. Bullshit, Jimin muttered. You didn't tell me because you were afraid of what I'd do with the truth. I was afraid it would break you, Jungkook said. But I didn't realize, maybe not knowing was worse. I look at that photo, and I feel something, Jimin whispered. Like déjà vu. Like my body remembers what my mind can't. And it makes me angry that someone took that from me. They took everything, Jungkook replied. From both of us. Then why do I still feel like you're one of them? Jungkook flinched. I'm not, he said. Not anymore. But you were. You wore their uniform. Followed orders. Hurt people. Jungkook's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Yes. You said you were trying to protect me. But what about everyone else? Taehyung. Seokjin. The others who died while you played double agent. I wasn't playing, Jungkook snapped. I was surviving. You think I didn't bleed every time I had to look someone in the eye and lie to them? You think I didn't lose sleep over every innocent the first couldn't save? Then why stay? Because I had to. Because leaving meant blowing my cover. Blowing my cover meant they'd find you sooner. Jimin stared at the back of Jungkook's head like he could burn a hole through it. You always make it about me, he said bitterly. As if I'm the excuse for every line you crossed. Jungkook finally turned to face him at a red light. His voice was low, barely controlled. You want the truth, he said. I stayed because I believed I could fix it from the inside. I believed if I got close enough, if I earned their trust, I could destroy them piece by piece. I believed I could bring you justice. Jimin blinked. Justice? Jungkook nodded. You weren't just a subject. You were the reason the project started. Jimin's heart stopped. What? Jungkook's voice dropped to a whisper, as if saying it too loud would summon the ghosts behind them. You had something they couldn't replicate. A neurological pattern, a mutation, maybe. They called it empathic resonance. You could feel things others couldn't. Lie detection. Emotional reading. Trauma mapping. It was instinct for you. And they wanted it. No, Jimin said, voice cracking. No, I'm just a dancer. That's what they let you believe. Jimin shook his head violently. You're lying. I'm not. They tried to recreate your ability. Used your blood, your DNA, your childhood records. But none of the other subjects survived the procedure. Jimin felt bile rise in his throat. So I'm a blueprint, he said. Not a person. You're more than that, Jungkook said. You were their miracle. And that terrified them. And you? Jimin asked. Did it terrify you too? No, Jungkook whispered. It made me fall in love with you. Jimin slammed his fist against the window. Don't you dare say that like it means anything now. It means everything. It's manipulation. All of it. You coming back. Saving me. Making me believe there's something left between us. I didn't manipulate you. I loved you, Jungkook said, voice hoarse. I love you. But if I have to be the villain in your story to keep you alive, then fine. I'll wear it. Jimin turned away, breathing hard. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then the GPS chirped. You have arrived at your destination. They pulled off the highway onto a narrow road swallowed by trees. At the end stood a dilapidated building, once a school, maybe, now overtaken by vines and rust. Jungkook parked and grabbed the flash drive. His inside. The doctor? Jimin asked. Jungkook nodded. Dr. Yoon Song, lead neuroscientist on Saraphim. He went off-grid after the project shut down. Why would he help us? Jungkook opened the door. Because he's dying. And he wants to confess. They entered the building in silence, weapons drawn inside. The air was stale, thick with dust and the scent of rot. The floor creaked beneath their feet. The halls were lined with peeling wallpaper and broken lockers. A soft voice called out from the darkness, "You're late." They turned. An old man stepped into the light, thin and trembling, with wires connected to a portable oxygen tank. His eyes were sharp, calculating. "Guilty, Dr. Yoon," Jungkook said. The man nodded. Subject JM042. "I hoped I'd never see you again." Jimin's stomach turned. "Why?" he asked. "Because if you're here," the doctor said, "it means the nightmare isn't over." Jungkook held out the drive. "You have one chance. Help us decrypt this. Expose what you did." Dr. Yoon hesitated, then reached for it. "If I do this, it'll kill me." "Good," Jimin said coldly. The doctor's hand froze. "You deserve worse," Jimin added. "But if giving me back my memories helps bring them down, I'll watch you rot with a smile on my face." The doctor gave a sad smile. "You've changed." "No," Jimin whispered. "I'm just remembering." Dr. Yoon led them into a room filled with old machines and cables. He plugged in the drive. "I'll need time," he said. "And you need rest." Jimin sat on the floor, knees drawn to his chest. Jungkook hovered nearby, unsure whether he was still allowed to be close. Jimin finally spoke, voice low. "If I remember everything, and I hate you when it's over, will you still stay?" Jungkook didn't hesitate. "Yes." Jimin closed his eyes. "Then I hope I forget how much I once loved you." Jungkook's breath caught. Outside, a storm rolled in. The past was coming. And it wouldn't knock. It would break the door down. The storm arrived before dawn. Thunder cracked through the decaying schoolhouse like a war drum, shaking the fragile walls as rain lashed against the shattered windows. Inside, the hum of machines surrounded them, Dr. Yoon's equipment flickering to life, decrypting secrets that were never meant to be seen again. Jimin sat beside a monitor, watching fragments of his erased past materialize in bursts of static and corrupted video. He saw himself at 6 years old, eyes wide with confusion as strangers in white coats pressed cold metal to his skin. He heard his own voice scream in terror as they wiped memory after memory, replacing joy with obedience. He saw his mother's face, just once, before it vanished into the void. Every recovered frame carved a deeper crack in his soul. Behind him, Jungkook stood motionless, back straight, jaw tight, as if absorbing the memories with him. He didn't try to comfort Jimin. He knew better. Some grief couldn't be held. Some pain wasn't meant to be eased. Dr. Yoon wheezed as he worked. His body was failing, but his mind remained razor-sharp. With trembling fingers, he passed Jimin a final file, a letter, handwritten in trembling script. "I couldn't save you," he said. "But maybe this will help you save yourself." Jimin read it in silence. It was from his father. A real one. Not the faceless donor on record, but a scientist who had helped design Seraphim and had tried to destroy it from the inside. His letter was full of guilt. "Apologies. Please." He had loved Jimin, he wrote, but couldn't stop what they did to him. In the end, he was caught and silenced. But not before he made sure his son would survive. The last line broke Jimin entirely. "They took your memories, but not your heart. That's how I knew they'd fail." Jimin folded the letter with shaking hands, eyes shining but unblinking. Then came the sound they all feared: footsteps, boots, dozens. Jungkook looked at the monitors. Infrared picked up a team moving in from the West Wing. "They're here." Jimin didn't hesitate. "We fight." Jungkook looked at him. "Are you sure?" "No," Jimin said. "But I'm not running anymore." He stood, grabbing the spare weapon Jungkook handed him. For a moment, they just stared at each other. There was no more rage between them now. No more illusions. Just two souls bound by ruin, blood, and something that still resembled love. Jungkook touched Jimin's face, just once, as if memorizing him. "If we don't make it, we will." Dr. Yoon stayed behind at the machine, knowing he wouldn't survive the next hour. He didn't ask to be saved. This was his penance. Gunfire erupted outside, then chaos. Jimin moved with terrifying precision, like muscle memory had awoken inside him, inherited from a version of himself he'd never known. He ducked, dodged, fired. Jungkook was beside him, lethal, efficient, two halves of a storm, colliding in perfect violence. Bodies fell. Rooms burned, but they kept moving. By the time they reached the rooftop, the air was thick with smoke. The last of the soldiers fell to Jimin's shot. Jungkook grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the emergency ladder. Helicopters inbound, he yelled over the roaring wind. Jimin hesitated. Dr. Yoon, he knew what this meant. They climbed as the building exploded beneath them, the fire lighting up the horizon like a dying star. The helicopter lifted off. Jimin watched the old schoolhouse collapse, the ghosts buried with it. They didn't speak on the flight. There was nothing left to say. They landed hours later in a safe zone outside the country, somewhere nameless and grey. Mina was waiting, arms crossed, unreadable. "You did it," she said to Jungkook. "You kept him alive. For now," he said. She turned to Jimin. "You're a symbol now, whether you want to be or not. The last survivor. The proof. The weapon. The witness." Jimin nodded. "I'm done running," he said. "Let them come." That night, Jimin stood alone on the balcony of the safe house, the wind cold against his face. Jungkook joined him quietly. They didn't touch, they didn't need to. "You still love me?" Jimin asked, not looking at him every breath. Jimin closed his eyes. "I don't know if I can love you the same way." "I know. But I'm not going to hate you anymore either." Jungkook nodded. "That's enough." The stars above them blinked faintly through the fog. A new dawn waited somewhere beyond the horizon. Jimin didn't look back. He didn't have to, because for the first time in his life, the past wasn't chasing him. He was finally walking into it, free. Whole. Remembered.